We are here again. So if you haven't subscribed yet to this channel, please do so by pressing the subscribe button below. Thank you very much. In our previous edition, our previous video, we talked about purpose, and we're going to be continuing from there. And I just want to just a brief one telling us something that we should know about purpose. I will begin from where I stopped in the previous video. In the previous video, I said our purpose begins with God. Yes, our purpose begins with God. Our purpose begins in God. In fact, our purpose is God. Our purpose is about God. We find out what I mean by that is that we find our purpose in God. God is a creator. He's our creator, and we are the creation. We find the intent. We find the purpose. We find the reason. The purpose is the reason for being. So we find the reason in the mind of the creator. We find the reason for the creation in the mind of the creator. So now, and I said in the previous video, I think I did that, purpose is discovered. You don't just wake up one day and assume your purpose. You don't just wake up one day and manifest your purpose. You discover your purpose. And in the discovering of the purpose, because purpose can be found in the mind of the creator. In discovering your purpose, it begins with knowing God, who is the creator. And of course, to know God, you must have, or we must have, a relationship with Him. Also, you the creator, God, He gave us a book. He gave us something that we could use to understand Him, or we could use to know Him, or we could use to also discover His intent for us. And so now, and in the book that He gave us, that which is the Bible, He revealed to us that the purpose was given to us in Christ. So if I'm going to read a portion of the Bible, 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 9, it says that, who had saved us and called us with a holy calling, not according to our works, but according to His own purpose and grace, which was given us in Christ Jesus before the world began. That's 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 19. If we read it from the King James Version. So now what I want to explain here is that there's a universal purpose. There's a universal purpose of God, and that universal purpose of God is summed up in Christ. And it's in that purpose that a path is created for us to walk in. That path that is created for us to walk in is what we now call our individual purposes, or our individual purpose. I hope we're getting. So that now there's a universal purpose of God, and that universal purpose of God is summed up in Christ. And it's in that purpose that a path is created for us to walk in. That path that is created for us to walk in is what we now call our individual purpose. Now, what I'm saying is that God has an original purpose for life. God has an original purpose for life. So I want to say something, but I'm going to stop there. But God has an original purpose for life, and He has an original purpose for living. And it is until we step into that original purpose of God, living purpose cannot be actualized. Until we step into that original purpose of God, living purpose cannot be actualized, cannot be realized. So, and that's why most times when you come to a believer, or you come to us, you come to a pastor, or you come to, even if you're a pastor, come to a believer and ask, oh, and you are curious about your purpose. That's why most times we tell you, first question we ask is, are you born again? Because you have to have a relationship with the Creator. So what I'm saying is that the original purpose of God for life is Christ. It's Christ. Colossians chapter 1 verse 16 in the King James Version says that, for by Him were all things created. All things were created for Him. So our life is considered relevant before God when Christ is the purpose. Our life cannot, in another way, our life cannot be considered relevant before God when Christ is not the purpose. Our life is counted relevant before God when Christ is the purpose. So outside of Christ, our life doesn't count. It's not counted as fulfilling. It's not counted as satisfying. It's not it's not considered relevant or high impactful. It's not. I know you want to ask, what of those that are successful? What of people that are successful? Blessings of God makes rich and adds no sorrow. So Pharaoh in the Bible had a purpose. When God was going to deliver the people of Israel, he said that Pharaoh's heart will be hardened. God from the onset knew that Pharaoh's heart will be hardened. In fact, that's why he equipped Moses, with so much miracles and, assurance with miracles. Try this, do this, do this. When you go, say this, do this. Your brother Aaron will accept you. That's why God knew that, and God knew that from the onset. And Pharaoh was supposed to serve as a stumbling block to prove that there's God, to prove that there's a God of the Israel, to prove that there's a powerful God. So you don't want to be used in that negative sense. You don't want to be fulfilling purpose in that way. You don't want to. So now I'm encouraging you, in case you're wondering what your purpose is and you want to live your purpose in a positive way, in a way that's pleasing to God, you have to understand that your purpose is summed up in Christ. In summary, we have the same universal purpose, which is to be a minister of Christ. However, like I've been saying, there's an aspect of our purpose which we sometimes consider, we call it calling, we can call it ministry, we can call it assignment, that is individual to us, that is unique to us, that is separate, even though related. See, like I know I was saying in the previous video, that's like two pieces put together to fulfill a purpose. That's we, even if it's personal to us, even if it's individual to us, even if it's separate, it's unique, it's different to us, our purposes are interrelated, or our purpose, pardon my English, anyone, but our different purposes of purpose are interrelated to one another. There's a part of God that only you can express. There's a part of, God is vast. God is, you can't measure God. So there's a part of God that only you can express. There's a part of God that only I can express. There's a part of God, in as much as we can express certain similar things or behaviors or character, because we are made in the image of God. But there's something about God that we express that makes us unique, or that makes us stand out. So your individual purpose, what I'm saying, your individual purpose is linked to a greater purpose. And that greater purpose is because we are, and so if I have an individual purpose, you have an individual purpose, and our individual purposes are linked to a general purpose. I hope we understand what I'm saying. So let me give an example. Example is Peter. In the Bible, Peter was called to the Jews, and it was stated. Paul mentioned it, and Paul himself was called to the Gentiles. But then everything was to sum up and lead up to Christ, to salvation, to God. We have unique paths, or unique purposes, or unique callings, or unique assignments, but it's directed to one universal purpose. So that's why it's either you're serving God or you're serving Mammon. If you're not serving God, you're not fulfilling purpose. You're serving something else. You're fulfilling the purpose of something else. So that's something that we need to be, watchful about. Have you realized that? I was thinking about this, but have you realized that in the Bible, whenever a person is called, like when God, appeared to Saul, who now became Paul, or when God appeared to Abraham, or when God visited Moses, when Jesus called Peter, when God spoke to Jeremiah, or when God arrested Jonah because he wanted him to do something, Gideon, whenever a person is called, or whenever the purpose or a reason is revealed to them, we will notice that it's not necessarily about them. It's usually about God. If we read it, when God is speaking to them, say, I've called you to do this. Even when he called Moses, I've heard the cry of my people. He wants to bring deliverance. So it's not necessarily about me. But in doing that which God has called me to do, which God has spoken to me about, I'm fulfilling purpose. I just pointed out something now. So it's God that can reveal our purpose to us. I've said it a lot, but it just hits now that God can reveal our purpose to us, and most times He reveals it by assignments, by doings, by us carrying out assignments. When He called Jonah, go and preach to Nineveh, and the reason why Jonah is even mentioned in the Bible was because God gave him an instruction. God gave him something to do, and even if he disobeyed, he went to do it. That means what the Bible is telling us, that The reason why Jonah even appeared in the Bible, or why he was born, was because God wanted to use him to minister to Nineveh. And the Bible is telling us that he fulfilled that purpose, even though with all the fights and all the disobedience and all the running away, but he still fulfilled that purpose. That's like, if you want to be relevant, oh my God, I'm even extending time, but let me just round up with this. What I was saying is that when God calls you, or when God reveals his purpose in Bible, whenever God reveals his call or his purpose, or we'll notice that it's not necessarily about that person. It's usually about him, about God. It's about God. It's about his glory. It's about his name. It's about his word. It's about his person. It's about his people. It's about his desire. And of course his desire is good. It's about his kingdom. It's And we know that there's an expected end. That's why I'm saying that our purpose can be found in God. And in fact, our purpose is God. So we that's something we need to learn. The discovery of a personal purpose and its relationship to God's universal purpose must be the basis from which we live. Let me say it again. And I got this part from somewhere. The discovery of your personal purpose and its relationship to God's universal purpose must be the basis from which we live. If you want to really fulfill purpose or live purpose. So now, finally, a few questions that I would like us to answer. One, what has God created you to be? Just ponder on it. What has God created you to be? Two, what did God create you for? Three, what's God's strategy through you? These are deep questions. So think about these. Till we meet again, we continue from where we stopped so far. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel by clicking the subscribe button below, and like this video, please, if you enjoy it. Thank you very much.